Reggie,
Andreas.
welcome back at your own place.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here as well to do this together. What we are doing today. Why are we starting with episode
one of the Veritas podcast presented by Labocosmetica. We are here at Mafra in Milan. Mailand is the German word, Milan is the English one. Episode 1, this podcast is called Veritas or Truth, and we want to bring some truth to the detailing industry.
Yeah.
We will be controversial, we will be harsh, hard, direct, and that's exactly what we'll try to do today, because the title of the podcast is, I'm a little bit shaky already, Gloss, the biggest lie in the detailing industry.
Yeah, I love this subject.
Wow.
I love it.
I mean, that's quite a statement, and I guess because I'm a little bit shaky, I'll let you start with what you think about why gloss is the biggest lie in the detailing industry.
Well, I've said it many times before. If it is from my point of view, as what I've seen through world travels, is that the detailing industry is divided in 3 categories. One of them is the personal opinion section. That's about 70% estimate. We have the emotions, 29%, and then 1% science. And I think also a little bit of a side project for this podcast is to double up, at least double up on the existing scientific knowledge.
So we are at 2% facts and science. That's a good goal.
If we go double on 2%, then I'm already very happy. And if we can get people to change their mindset or to think about the stuff they are doing a little bit more, we are already in the right direction. And this topic is a topic that I've discussed many times here in Labocosmetica, and I will also take as an example today what we do in the world of gloss. Which you think
at your own company is not done in a right, correct, fair, whatever way?
This is a debate open for discussion that you can debate about days over. There's maybe weeks, and a never-ending discussion about what is gloss.
Yeah.
How much is it? It's a very controversial subject.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And as Reggie said, I think what we are trying to do is bring a little bit more facts and science into it and make you as listeners a little bit more critical about claims in regards to gloss.
Yeah.
Let's maybe start with the question, what is gloss from an factual, scientific, objective way? What is gloss?
I'll tell you what I think it is without turning on Wikipedia and took the science, but I say it's the amount of reflections we can get back from the paint.
Yeah.
From the final result of the detail, the final result of the product we applied, to the end result, seeing the change or from something matte to back to gloss, or maybe even seeing an increase in gloss.
Yeah, exactly. And I can remember there was a very good video that Larry Consilla from MONYC did with an actual scientific guy who studies gloss as a topic, and they explained it exactly as you did, with reflections. Scientifically speaking, it is all about how light rays bounce off a paint surface. Yeah. And if that light ray comes in a certain angle in those paint surfaces and is reflected in the same angle again, that is, scientifically speaking, perfect gloss, because the surface is as flat as possible.
Yeah.
And what we observe in the detailing industry is that we often do not talk about that, reflections, but we talk about promises by manufacturers when they release,
including us,
including you, new products, especially protective products, claiming that they are able to create gloss. And I think that's where the issues start, already with the term gloss.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is using it in the same way. There is the actual scientific way we just talked about. That is also measurable, but we will talk about measuring these things a little bit later in this podcast as well, because that's controversial in itself. So there's that view. Then there is visual appearance and how products make the paint look. That's subjective. There are terms like candy gloss, wet look, paint depth or depth of gloss or anything like that. Then 3D. There's the darkening effect, the shedding effect, and all those mirror shine, and all those things are put into one bowl, and it's all summarized by gloss. And I think that's the issue here.
Yeah, I think so too. You see, when people start talking about it, if I ask somebody that has no idea No idea. It's a guy that just detailed his car, and I give it to him. I finish the car. He sees a shiny car, and I'm going to ask him what type of a gloss it is. He's never going to refer to these phrases because these phrases are made by a manufacturer to give it a name for a certain type of gloss that is being repeated by everybody. He said, no, this is 3D gloss, this is mirror gloss, this is wet look, this is, and that's the debate. It's
all
open.
subjective.
Yeah.
All.
And if there's in fact, that's very funny. And I'll take a big example because a couple of weeks ago I posted a very small reel when I was picking up Marvin from the airport, and I had just did the
Marvin, German guy, detailer, trainer for Labocosmetica from Glossboss.
Yes, legend, Marvin.
Marvin, greetings to you.
I was picking up, the car was standing under the overhead of the airport in front of the departure hall, the arrivals hall, and the gloss on the car looked insane. It absolutely looked insane. So I put down the camera, I make a walk around, and I said, this is the new generation of ceramics oncoming onto Labocosmetica.
So you did it yourself?
Absolutely.
You bastard. You did it yourself.
Because the perfect lighting, the lighting was perfect. It had diffused light. It had diffused light. It had insane reflections. You could see everything that was going around the car. You could see me walk past it. It looked absolutely brilliant. But in fact, what I showed was a digital projection of ones and zeros put into software that made a digital projection on a camera that then was being posted onto a social media platform. So in real life, it looked even better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But this is what the camera gave me. And then I was thinking about, okay, this gloss thing, this is something that we have to touch up on. Because what my personal opinion was and what the camera was showing, people were definitely agreeing with me that there was
definitely a difference, yeah.
Yeah, but in science, it should have been measured through correct and then say, okay, now we have something that we say, okay, we have gloss enhancing, we have some points with that machine that we're going to discuss about a little bit more.
Especially compared to a reference section. And I think that is by far, at least from my perspective, that's by far the biggest issue we have.
Yeah.
People applying, and especially manufacturers, YouTubers, influencers, testers, they apply a protective product to a car, show that car from different angles, and then they say what you see is gloss. And you as a viewer, and especially if you're new to this, if you're a beginner, you think, yeah, that's true, I see gloss. What you see is a shiny, reflective car.
Yeah.
But you don't see what the product has done without a reference section. And it's so easy, just put a tape on the hood, do a 50-50 shot, and then you see what a product actually does.
Yeah.
That would be a scientific way of testing, because then we can also start to separate the different effects we have. We may see a darkening effect, so the one side is darker than the other. That is visible, that is presentable. However, we already have to say there, if you put a gloss meter on a darkened surface, it can be that the gloss meter says we don't scientifically have an increase in gloss. We just have a darker surface based on the filling capabilities of that protective product you just applied there.
And of course, these two are limited into a certain light perspective. Yeah. So there is a limit what you can see.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you can literally see something with the naked eye, what is not being shown inside of a video.
Absolutely.
And you see it in real life, you see it. I see it especially with red cars, that sometimes the red is so glossy, so shiny, that it turns into orange in the camera. And when I'm looking at the camera in real life, I just definitely see a difference.
I drive a red Mini, and I got that red Mini, especially for all the videos I did. It was a stupid idea. It is so hard to show effects of stuff and even hydrophobic properties on that red paint. Yeah. I have to have the exact right angle and the perfect lighting, otherwise we don't see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we already have an issue with the definition of the term gloss.
Yep.
We already have an issue with people not properly presenting and displaying what they want to show. So proper testing with 50-50s. We already have an issue with what our eyes see is different than what we can pick up with cameras. And I think the viewers, the listeners are now starting to understand the issue we have with gloss and everything that's surrounding it.
It's true.
In this industry.
It's true. We see that something is changing. Yes, we see that. But if we look at it scientifically, and we will say, if, like you said, if we make a 50-50, I'm going to bet, we'll take an example of a video been made by your colleague from the...
Sebastian.
Yeah. where he did
Dream Maker it was, yeah.
With the statements of the manufacturer, applying it. The beautiful thing he did is, without showing which side he was doing, he blackened out the screen.
The application, yeah.
After the blackened out, he gave us the opportunity to select what we thought on camera, seeing on YouTube, what side was it being applied on. And I can tell you, I selected the wrong side because there was no difference. and
he also had a random stranger there. It was a community member, but it was random. Mm. He asked him, do you see a difference between the left and the right side? And he didn't see it. And that's by far, I think, our two biggest, that's the issue we have. Manufacturers claiming products create gloss when you critically test it, they do dog shit.
Exactly. Absolutely fuck all. Nothing.
Not even a darkening effect. Because a darkening effect is where I would say, yes, if you see a darkening effect, if you do a 50-50, then I can accept that someone is interpreting that as gloss. That I'm fine with. But if I see, and that's, we said we will be directly naming what we see and what we criticize, Pan the organizer. People probably know that I'm very critical about him. I have nothing against him personally.
Sympathetic.
I actually think he's a very decent and nice person. All the interviews and other podcasts he did, I think we two, me and him, would get along nicely. However, I have to separate what Pan is as a person and what Pan does in his videos. And what he showed in his video about the P&S Dream Maker, and that was what Sebastian, my colleague, was referring to, Pan applied Dream Maker to a polished and ceramic coated car on the whole car. And then he showed the effect he thinks or he claims that the product did from different angles and says, look at how glossy and shiny that surface is. Yes, that car looked very good and very glossy and very shiny. But without a reference section, without taping something off and showing a 50-50, how can you, as a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers, claim that a product creates gloss?
No, you have to be responsible.
It bogs my mind how he can do that. And he repeatedly does it.
He must take it to, in fact, especially with the reach that he has to take a certain amount of responsibility for the promotion and say, listen, people, this is what actually is happening. You need a reference, you need a 50-50, you need a piece of tape, although I'm still against putting tape on a car, but if you, even if it's your own car.
For testing purpose, you can get a scrappy out hood.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's the simplest and most basic principle of testing. Without the reference section, you cannot tell what a product does. And it doesn't matter if we talk about gloss, hydrophobic properties, chemical resistance, whatever it is. You need a reference section. Yep. Either it being without anything on it or with another product that you know is good and you show the differences. Yep. But applying it to a whole car and then saying the car is glossy, especially if he tells in the video it was polished and ceramic coated. In my opinion, it's irresponsible for a channel of that size.
I think I'm going to walk out of sight of the screen for a second and I'm going to take that little booklet from Labocosmetica. Because there is.
Oh, now Reggy will officially lose his job, and you will be here to witness it.
Because I understand this. Like I said, this is more about the professional. So the professional should always give the customer the right advice. And if the customer...
For the listeners who don't see the video, Reggy is holding the coating booklet by Labocosmetica in his hands.
This is what you will find in any ceramic coating kit, what explains the qualities, the properties, and every difference between the ceramics.
Because you have a few,
Because we have some, yes. What it does, protection, advantages, in short. But then we go to the singular mentioning of the coatings itself, and I will start with STC. We have a little table here that goes from up to down, has something like resistance for calcium. And then we have gloss depth, and it says 3 stars. Then we have mirror gloss, it has 2 stars. Then we have 3D gloss, it has 4 stars. Now, for me to observe this with the naked eye, for a guy that has applied STC a very much amount of time, with my naked eye I have seen darkening effect, yes. I have seen a gloss increase with my naked eye, yes.
Or let's call it a visual change.
Visual change. Yeah. But to say that it was a 3D gloss, it would be impossible for me because I have a lazy eye or dominant eye, whatever you want to call it. I cannot see 3D. So 3D movies are not spent on me. The only thing I see is blur. And this is then exactly what I say, okay, 3D gloss, mirror gloss. From a marketing...
Reggie, honestly, what is 3D gloss?
I have no idea. I really, if I put them next to each other, and I've done this with training, where people also then in the training the debate starts. Yes, but this gives more candy gloss, this gives more mirror gloss.
Dear God.
So I put, please point me and educate me. If you have that way to understand, give me understandable information about what a 3D gloss is or what a mirror gloss is, because I think any good polished car with a ceramic coating or wax, or any good polished car by itself already has a mirror gloss.
We will talk about that aspect, yeah.
And the only reason I can get along with this, that if you have somebody that has absolutely no know-how, no experience, or you need to convince a customer to take in a certain ceramic, from a marketing perspective, I understand this.
Really?
I understand.
I don't.
You don't understand that to make it more attractive for the person to say,
but if someone has no idea at all about detailing,
then we go back
what is 3D gloss? How do you explain it to them?
Then I'll go back to my initial start of the detailing industry. When I really started, the only thing I could see was matte and gloss.
Exactly, and I think that's what most customers actually want. They want a shiny, glossy car. Absolutely. They don't care if you call it candy gloss, mirror shine, wet look, 3D gloss, or whatever. To be fair to you as a manufacturer, you're not the only ones who do that. Gion also has a range of coatings, and they say that Pure is more of a candy gloss or wet look, and Moss is is more of a mirror shine. You're not the only ones doing that. And also, to be fair, I think what most people understand with this, we can try to explain it. Candy gloss means the paint looks as if there was an additional layer of clear coat on it.
Yeah, glaze.
So it's very glazy, yeah. Mirror shine means it looks like a mirror, so it's very reflective, very sharp, but also sometimes called cold.
Yeah.
Wet look means it looks very warm, almost like there's water on it. So in actual gloss terms, I think we see less gloss because the light rays are broken up almost. That's when we can start, again, scientifically, about refraction indices, because you can measure that, and different products break up light rays in a different way. I think that's what most people would agree on. But then again, there's no government body who controls the detailing industry who would define that for the whole industry. There simply isn't. A manufacturer can go ahead and say it is a wet look when in fact it would be more like a mirror shine. It's all, how was it called in the Wolf of Wall Street? Fugazi,
yeah. But it's a tomato. The categories, if the gloss categories would be singular, they would be so far apart from each other that they would be observable in less than 1 second.
Or measurable.
Or measurable. But just by the naked eye say, okay, you can clearly see. But in fact, if you hold them all close together, you will see that the gloss perceived by the eye is so close to each other that the only thing setting them apart is the opinion about the name. Because we will all say, is the car glossy, yes or no? Everybody would agree that if it's not matte, that it would be glossy.
Yeah.
Then we will go to what the person self can see. Now, I can tell you, customers do not often see holograms, do not see marring, do not see these things. Only we see these things because we have been trained ourselves to go deep into the paint, to find the ultimate way to finish this paint, to generate the highest amount of clarity that is possible, and then add on something that can maybe magnify or multiply or by the naked eye, not only so measurable. Because now I'm going to tell a secret story. This is a story that has never been shared online before. For marketing purposes, we had to do Marco's Panamera. And Marco
is the
CEO
of Mafra
Labocosmetica. Yeah. And we had to use in the video the glass meter. And the glass meter was measuring it from a 15-degree angle, I think 60 and 90. Yeah. So from the famous side shot is the 15.
So that's the angle the light ray created by the glass meter is bouncing onto the surface.
Yeah, right? So from 15 degrees back through to 45 degrees until 90 degrees, what actually is coming right back to you as the ultimate reflection.
Because depending on how you measure that and how you create that angle, there will be differences. We will talk about that later.
So to measure that in the beginning and then after, the glass points in the video would say that it was only 4 or 5 in increase. What actually would be very plausible because that much did not change because the car was not in a bad state.
Yeah.
If the car was really screwed up, then it would be a big difference because there was so much less reflections because of the swirls. But the car came right out of the factory, even after polishing. So to make the gloss measurable in a way that it's more impressive, instead of taking the fixed calibration plate of black, I use just the wall here to calibrate it on there. So the wall here.
So you have a shiny high gloss black wall
but
there.
not perfect because the calibration plate is perfect gloss black.
I see.
To give you the ultimate calibration. Okay, this is our base. So I took the base of that thing just to increase the gloss points on the machine without doing it like that. So to make it more.
You cheated.
Basically, yeah. Just a visual effect inside of the video to increase the gloss on the gloss meter, where I already said for the naked eye, before and after the ceramic coating, you could already see. The car was glossy when it came in. The ceramic coating was put on there, and the ceramic coating is, of course, mostly, and I believe it's mostly for the protection. That the gloss is there is a big fat bonus, but it's for the protection. Eventually, the ceramic should protect the car.
Yeah.
And that the gloss is there is fantastic. And if you have a crappy car and you don't polish it, the difference of putting it on and after will be less than if you polish it nicely and prepare the paint as perfect as you can. But to generate this visually in the video, we had to calibrate on something else to show a measurable difference.
I see, and that's the perfect transition to the next topic, which is, yes, we can measure stuff with gloss meters, but the simple and naked truth about gloss meters that no one talks about is, and it's the same with paint depth gauges.
Oh my God, yes, true.
Side story, I had 2 paint depth gauges by 2 large, famous, well-known, respected manufacturers, put it on the same car at the exact same spot, and there was a difference of 60 microns. 60 microns.
0.
So the one meter showed 80 microns of total paint thickness, and the other one was showing 140. With 140, I can go ahead and cut the hell out of that paint. With 80, I'm not even starting polishing.
Yeah.
And that's the simple truth that no one knows and talks about paint depth gauges, and it's the same with gloss meters.
Absolutely.
If you use 2 different paint gloss meters on the same spot on the same car, there will be differences.
Absolutely.
So in order to, and that's the hard thing to do, and that's probably why no one does it. Even if you have YouTubers using a gloss meter, creating the impression that they properly test the claim of gloss, if you would actually measure it in a scientific way, you would use at least 5 different gloss meters on at least 10 different paint types, apply the two products 50 by 50, and then take the average of what all those different measurements say. Because there will be differences. The paint type will create differences, the gloss meter will create differences. And that's also something no one talks about. So a gloss meter is more scientific than saying, look at that gloss, but at the same time, it's not that scientific.
Listen, I've got a beautiful camera, Sony. If I play a little bit with the ISO, or the ISO, I don't know what you call it, I'm not a tech guy, ladies and gentlemen, but if I play around a little bit with the ISO and I put 2 different in the same angle and I turn the ISO down, it might that on the camera, the mirror reflex camera, that it even becomes extremely more shiny.
Yeah.
Even though, in fact, nothing has happened. The only thing I did was to change the setting of the camera.
Yeah.
So even by making it before and after, changing the ISO on a camera, I could fake saying that I do the full detail on a car with the before and after that actually is just an ISO settings on a camera that change the aesthetics of the car in the picture.
That's the danger of the 50-50. We said in order to properly show a visual change, you need to do a 50-50. On the other hand, we both know, and everyone knows, you can fake those 50-50s as much as you want. Fact is, on crappy paint, protective products create a more pronounced effect.
Yeah.
If you have a scratched up paint, apply a product on the one side, it will look the difference will look more pronounced than on perfectly polished paint. On perfectly polished paint, it is very hard to show visual changes of protective products.
Yes, it's absolutely
very
true.
hard, almost impossible.
Yeah, you have to really take the before from when the car was absolutely crappy, swirled up, scratched up, sanded up even, and then take the measurement and then polish it. But then the highest factor that is the variable that is mostly responsible for the increase in gloss is not the final product. It's the actual smoothening clarifying the paint,
polishing. And if you want to just take one message out of this whole podcast, it's this: don't chase gloss with protective products.
No,
it's polishing.
It's the base.
It's polishing. We were once with our channel visiting Dr. Wack. They also have an impressive lab, and we did a test there with a standardized plate where they have black paint on it. They have an industry pool of different manufacturers all using that same plate. You probably too. I don't know.
No, we don't have that glass meter. No, it's,
and then we scratched that up, so we sanded it and then applied a protective product to one side, polished the other side, and the protective product did, yes, an impressive job. It was an increase by, I think, 10 gloss units. What the polishing did was 30 to 40, an increase of 30 to 40 gloss units. And that's the truth. If you want gloss, you polish your paint. Yeah. Yes, some protective products will be able to create gloss, especially on not imperfect paint.
WD-40, for example.
Yes, let's talk about that in a minute. But the actual truth is, if you want gloss, don't apply a wax, a coating, a sealant, or anything else. Polish that car. Yeah. Even a hand polish. If you can't use a machine, even a hand polish will have dramatic effects on the gloss.
Even the orange peel. New Audis look like they are powder coated. It looks cloudy compared to the older Audis, and that's just the difference of being painted, and it has a tremendous effect on the gloss.
Exactly.
There's a reason that the whole sanding is now hyped, smoothing out. It's another subject, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a little bit more of an hype. Too many people start sanding without really know how to polish, or at least know what's happening during the polishing sequence.
Exactly.
We will definitely come back to a subject on that. And smoothing out the paint is, in fact, by the naked eye visual, by seeing if you remove orange peel, you go to a smooth surface.
Absolutely.
I mean, if I look at the Phaeton, the standard, the way they delivered that car, how smooth that paint is from the factory out, it's now already one of the glossiest cars without me even. I still have to finish the car, but if you look outside, it looks insane. Yeah. There's still marring inside, but because the paint is so smooth, it gives so much reflections that I just could lie by a picture and say I put a ceramic coating on it, even though if I put the light on it, you will see marring in the paint.
Exactly. And here's a nugget of truth that most of you probably don't know. That orange peel that the car care manufacturers, they do that on purpose. It's there for a reason.
Yes, because
if the car gets scratched up over time, you don't see it as good as if that paint would come out perfect out of the factory.
If that car that car has factory standard smooth paint, so I will accept it. But if I have a daily driver, and if I look here behind me at that Mustang, and it's flat black, 100% flat black, uni black, whatever, piano black, whatever you want to call it, if you sand that up to perfect perfection mirror, everybody that knows a deep black car, you will see
everything.
And I mean everything. You could see a hair scratch going over the paint. You could see the drag marks of the microfiber just by twitching the microfiber back and forth without applying any pressure.
So you don't, in most situations, and most people don't want the orange peel removed.
No, because it will reveal the state of the real car, or when it becomes really scratchy, and it will only look worse. So the most perfectly detailed car is going to look even worse after it's been scratched up than a factory car that has orange peel and is scratched up.
Exactly. So, I mean, to start to sum it up. So the term of gloss is not defined uniformly. We have different definitions. There's objective gloss, there's subjective gloss. Yeah. Then we have the issue that with the display of gloss or effects of protective products, doing 50-50s, doing not 50-50s, how you can manipulate 50-50s. Then we have the issue of gloss meters, that they are seemingly scientific when they are not. You can also cheat with those gloss meters. I think the listeners will start to understand what the issue with the term of gloss is. And the car care manufacturers are breaking it down to a very simple, they use just one term in order to try and sell us products by claiming they create gloss, especially to the uninitiated, the people who don't know, the beginners. And that's something we how often do you see in car care groups, forums and stuff, a picture of a car from a very shallow angle,
the 50, the side shot,
and they see something mirroring in that paint. Yeah. And I can completely understand the beginner who has just spent 5 hours polishing, waxing, cleaning his car for the first time. He's extremely happy with it, and he tries to capture that happiness on camera. I have no issues with that. You can.
Same here.
You can like try to, in a very gentle and friendly way, tell him, if you want to make better pictures, do it from a straight angle with a light source and do a 50-50, then you can show the effects what you do better in a friendly way. However, when a seasoned, experienced detailer, professional detailer does that with a shallow angle in the right lighting and says, look at how much gloss I created, then I have absolutely zero and no respect for that, because a professional detailer has to know that that picture does not show gloss in any way, shape or form.
I will give the beginner, of course, the 100% credit, as I referred to myself in the beginning, where I only saw matte and gloss. Everything else I didn't see, swirls, hologram, nothing. So for me, was that 15 angle was perfect. I saw gloss changing, but on my old profile, right before I deleted them, I made a video where I sanded the door with 3000, and I took the same side shot, and all the gloss was still there. Until I turned on the scan grip and slowly started rotating the camera to right in 90 degrees, where everybody saw, and everybody was blown away by the fact that there was a sanded car that glossed from the side.
Exactly that.
Side shots, they look great, but they don't refer to anything, because you can do it even with 1500.
Depending on who posts them, they are deceptive.
Yes.
You're trying to hide the truth, and you can hide the truth. An unpolished, scratched up car from that angle looks shiny. It's
Absolutely.
a fact. It's a scientific fact.
It's true.
And all those things combined, that's why we say gloss is the biggest lie in the detailing industry, because a whole industry is built upon this promise that we can achieve gloss in a quick, easy way by just spraying something onto the paint and then have gloss. No, we don't. Gloss is achieved by the hard way, by polishing.
If you are a pro and you've been hired for a job, the only two persons that need to be satisfied from that job is you and the customer. The customer should be able to be happy with the result for the amount of money he paid. And regardless how the car looks, how many swirls, holograms, it does not matter. If the customer is happy with the result for the money he paid, and you are happy with the money you got for the work you did, then the situation is closed and there's no more discussion.
No.
To start discussing a picture from a car that has been hologrammed up from another country, the other side of the world, through a digital projection from ones and zeros into software that created a digital picture in your camera, is absolutely a fucking waste of time. Sorry for my French, but that's a debate, lost energy, negativity, but I can do it better, everything. You have not been hired. It's you and the customer. Those are the only two people that need to be satisfied by what has happened. And if the customer believes and feels and he is convinced that what he sees is 100% gloss, then the customer is right.
And I have to be critical with myself. I did that. I did discuss pictures I saw of a detailer posting it and saying what he did. And I thought, well, you could do better. I was there. But then again, I stopped it because you cannot judge the work, the quality of work of someone else by just one picture. You can't. Well, you need to know what he did, what the goal was, what he arranged with the customer, what the circumstances are, which polisher, how many passes, material, what his setup is. You need to know all of that and need to stand in front of the car in order to judge that.
Exactly.
Judging the work of someone else by just a picture, don't do it. Please, guys, don't do it.
This is a final example of how I went on my face with the judging. I was closed-minded before I started the world tour. Then I started the world tour and people commenting on holograms in the car. And then we had a situation where I showed a picture where the car was covered in holograms, but I did not tell the before story. I did not share what was happening. Everybody said that car's full of holograms, it looks like shit. So what I said was, what actually happened, the car came in, full under mud, got a bath in pre-wash and a rinse. The person started sanding immediately without decontaminating. It didn't get a hand wash. It immediately started sanding 1500, used a 12-inch rotary, polished the car in less than 4 hours completely. It was an SUV. So there's 3 times where I can manage to do something like that and create a result in 4 hours, inclusive with sanding and washing on a SUV the size of I don't know how big, and then say what this guy did. So for the people that saw the picture, they say, car's full of holograms, it's a shit job. But in fact, what this guy created was a fucking miracle.
When you know the context.
In 4 hours, he sliced off the paint. It was only lightly hologrammed. So for the result, I cannot do it. The only thing it needed was a quick finish, small round with a finishing polish and finishing pad. It would be perfect. But this time frame, this amount of money, with the amount of, it's never ever would I achieve something like this. So the man that did this should get the amount of praise from a legend, because there's nobody in the world that is going to, maybe because I didn't meet him, but there is few people that can copy that result in that amount of time with that amount of equipment.
Exactly.
So I would, at that point, I always started, okay, Reggie, you might think you know, but you only know what you know now. And as soon as you say, I'm the master, I'm master detailer, I'm quit learning. No, you're not quit learning. You're in an ongoing
you reach the highest level of arrogance you can reach.
Yes, and when you close up as a master, you close up for everything else, because you say, this is the road you should walk. There's no other way than this way. You need to open up again and take in more and see what is possible. Because if it's possible, and we will come back to something like 3 or 4 stage polishing in another podcast, because that's a debate I would like to start very much. But in fact, you have to keep staying open-minded. It's an evolution.
That is the perfect ending of the podcast. We said the title of the podcast is Veritas, and we tried to create out of something negative, something positive. And you just did that. We moaned about gloss and the usage of the term gloss in the detailing industry for probably almost an hour.
Yeah.
And at the end, it's all subjective.
Absolutely.
It's all subjective. And don't start to judging gloss or the usage of gloss or the results by someone else just by pictures. And I think that's something positive we can take out of that.
Absolutely. It has been a journey to learn it, and I'm happy that I have learned it, and I'm happy that I have been proven wrong so many times by so many detailers. And I thank them very much, because you made me the detailer I am today.
Perfect. Reggie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a very, very good one. I hope it was interesting for you as well. We want to be open, and you can be as direct and brutal and harsh as we are with us. So if you want to have a discussion with us about that topic, about the usage of gloss in the detailing industry, please do leave a comment. And otherwise, I would say let's give them a quick heads up and preview to the next podcast, because I think that topic, out of all the topics we planned, we have a list about 30 topics. That one, I think, has the highest probability that we actually get sued. And we need that lawyer again of yours in your company, because we will talk about the Cerakote disaster that is happening right now.
And the lessons that we as a manufacturer are going to take from that situation. So I'm going to rephrase my words very carefully in the future, but how I'm going to discuss upcoming release of products.
Yeah, I hope you're looking forward to that. If you listened, thanks for listening. If you watched us, thank you for watching, and ciao.
Ciao.